Culturedog Sam Hatch back with another video. We are indeed in the midst of my A through Z of Laserdiscs, and we left off at Face Off, so we're in the F's, getting there. This I picked up at Tower Records in Boston pretty much right when it came out. I saw this about 3 or 4 times in the theaters, and for a Joel Schumacher film, I loved this one. Falling Down, Michael Douglas in it. Really just layered, detailed character study. Great kind of simple structure of this man and his dysfunction escalating perfectly throughout this day. And yeah, amazing flick. Great stuff. It is only PCM Matrix Surround, but I haven't seen this in a while. I can't remember how great the print was, but I will fire that up soon. It's been a while since I've watched it. This I picked up in a lot for my friend, and it is not the box. There's like a box set, I believe, but this is just the regular extended play version of Disney's Fantasia stereo Laserdisc, and yeah, Dolby Surround, and yeah, 3 sides. So I'll pick up the CAV version, but I'd actually like to watch this. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But great, I love the kind of foil writing on there. Very nice stuff. And the grade of the background artwork. This is a Notorious Rotter, and this copy does have some speckling. Fargo, one of the later releases. I remember this hitting DVD around the same time it came out on Laserdisc. But Ethan and Joel Coen, one of my favorite flicks of theirs. I'd seen it already in the theaters when they come out. And yeah. Killer cover art and everything, so even though it's a little speckled, I'll probably still hold on to it for a little while at least. This, I still haven't watched yet on Laserdisc. I picked this up as part of a lot, and it's in really good condition. Widescreen version of Fierce Creatures, the spiritual successor to A Fish Called Wanda, with the cast reunited: John Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, and Michael Palin. And yeah, I look forward to checking this out. Just 2 sides, and don't believe it's AC3 or anything. Just regular Matrix Surround. Alright. This is another Notorious Rotter. And I hate to say it, but this one is partially rotted. I actually got this brand new recently, first night. And again, proving that you can take something out of the cellophane and it's already rotted. Some sides are worse than others. Some just have light speckling. But yeah. I would eventually like to pick up the Japanese release, which apparently does not have laser rot, and give that a spin. It's a THX release, though I don't think it's AC3. 1.85 to 1. I think it's just, yeah, stereo digital surround. But like most Sony DADC pressed releases from Columbia TriStar, it is Rot City. This I just kept because, again, I mentioned in my previous videos, I'm not much of a collector of 80s Laserdiscs, but I had to get this. There was a letterbox copy, but this is the old, looks like 1984 pressing and extended play with a Matrix Surround soundtrack. Ooh, tasty. Of Flash Gordon. It's awesome just for the cover art alone. The widescreen version also looks awesome, the cover art, but I actually just jumped right from this to Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray looks pretty awesome too. So I'm probably not going to fire this up at any time soon, but I don't know, I have a hard time getting rid of it too, just because Flash Gordon, right? I actually saw this in the theaters when I was a kid, and I had so much buttery popcorn that I vomited, and I couldn't eat popcorn for close to a decade after it, so I'll always associate that loving memory with Flash Gordon. Yes! Up next is another Joel Schumacher guilty pleasure of mine, Flatliners. It's a little over the top, and again, it's got Julia Roberts, who I normally hate, but Kiefer Sutherland in there, Oliver Platt, which Baldwin is in that? Billy, and Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon's story is always the weakest of it. Again, it was kind of cool, that whole like adventuresome, yeah. What if you have a bunch of college-age kids doing some like bizarre, like altered states type experiments and going over the line? In this case, discovering that they can flirt with the afterlife by inducing death with this drug that they've concocted. But then it comes up with this whole, well, once you hit the afterlife, you're confronted with the most horrible things you'd ever done, and it gets kind of rote and and trite from that point on, because it's like, all right, we have to deal with all these characters. So some are haunted by traumas from their past, like Kiefer Sutherland, involving a kid that's seeking revenge for dying, whereas Kevin Bacon was mean to a girl on a playground. And I love when he goes and meets up with her, and she's just like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Thanks for that. And Billy Baldwin's like a man whore, so he's always traumatized by all these ladies he slept with. So, I don't know, I think they could have done something a little bit more interesting with what happens in the afterlife. Then it's like the exact same thing has to happen to each character, and I don't know, but still, it's pretty cool. It's got some juice to it, and Kiefer Sutherland's always awesome. This I picked up at Tower Records in Boston. I had seen this in the theaters and was a fan of it. It's weird. Sometimes it's funny, and then sometimes you'll show it to somebody and say, this movie's funny as hell, and then you could just watch them sit there and stare in abject horror, or just having no feeling at all. But it's a David O. Russell flick called Flirting with Disaster. Ben Stiller's out looking for his real dad. Patricia Arquette's in it, Téa Leoni, Lily Tomlin in it, George Segal, and killer supporting cast in here, including Richard Jenkins and Josh Brolin as well. So, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, it seemed funny as hell when I saw it in the theaters, and then I watched it with friends, and just silence fills the room. So, hilarious, a must-see. Your results may vary. So, I think I've shown it 2 separate occasions with people that just didn't laugh once. This is a common. This is a film that was ubiquitous because you had to have it. Picked this up from Columbia House, the Forrest Gump Deluxe Edition with the behind-the-scenes special, and it is AC3 Dolby Digital. Haven't seen this in a dog's age, actually. It's 142 minutes, and yeah. I know, my parents hated this flick. I liked it more than they did. I haven't seen it in a while, but yeah, I didn't like the scene where he puts the muddy face image onto a shirt, and it turns out to be the smiley face. That was pretty lame, but I could deal with a lot of the other postmodern bullcrap. 4 Weddings and a Funeral. I picked this up as a concerted effort to get more chick flicks in my collection, because as a young guy with a Laserdisc collection, that equals ladies. And you can't have the ladies coming over if all you got is like Steven Seagal stabbing people in the face with a remote control or something like that. So you got to throw in some 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Mike Newell flick. Actually just watched this Laserdisc not too long ago, and it looked really good on my projector. I remember I wasn't really that blown away by the transfer originally watching on my old CRT TV, but I watched it on my CLD D704 Pioneer going through my projector, and I thought it looked really nice. And that was even before I had my new rig, where I've got a time-based corrector and all sorts of nonsense in between. But yeah, solid flick, just a regular PCM surround. This sadly has some speckling to it, but again, I just bought this as a VHS Plus moment. It's weird because horror Laserdiscs tend to go for a lot of money. But unfortunately, most of the horror Laserdiscs are what I consider VHS Plus. They're pan and scan, not really much attention paid to them with extras. They're just the VHS version slapped onto a disc, and with possibly better sound and visuals, unless you get a lot of the rotters from the late 80s. So horror it's great for collecting and just looking at the jacket art. I picked up this copy of Frankenstein Unbound. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. John Hurt's in it, and Bridget Fonda. Jason Patric shows up, and yeah, Michael Hutchence even shows up in this thing. Good cast, and yeah, it's a little uneven, but it's got some fun stuff in it. But yeah, it's got mild speckling throughout on both sides. Also of note, this jacket is bigger than all of my other single disc jackets. I couldn't even fit it in a poly sleeve for a single jacket. This is actually a gatefold sized polypropylene sleeve. So interesting. So yeah, it looks nice, does have some mild speckling. Pan and scan or open matte. I can't remember what the theatrical exhibition frame was. This old favorite of mine, From Dusk Till Dawn. There's a little bending on the corners there, but it's a great gatefold jacket. Letterbox Director's Edition, AC3, Dolby Digital, and really showcased the director's love for the format. Robert Rodriguez gives us all on here with a commentary track and a lot of behind-the-scenes featurettes. It doesn't have Full Tilt Boogie, the kind of full-length behind-the-scenes feature that's available on some DVDs, but a lot of deleted scenes and everything like that. And Yeah, nice release indeed. Can't get rid of this sucker. One of my favorites. Actually, I remember I bought the script for this before seeing the film, and I actually did a table read, like a round table read at my house, and my roommate and a bunch of her friends had to leave halfway through, so they thought it was a straight up gangster flick, and they stopped right before the vampire action happened, and then they all went to see it in the theater, and they came back, that was a vampire movie? I'm like, well, that's what you get for leaving the table read. I'm so snarky. This is another common. Everybody has it. Sadly, this is not the squeeze version. It was a very limited edition of Laserdiscs that were formatted for widescreen televisions, like DVDs are, where they're just squeezed, and then your anamorphically enhanced Laserdisc gets played on your widescreen television or projector, and can unsqueeze it and make it widescreen and get more resolution. Therefore, but this is just the regular letterbox edition of The Fugitive. And something happened. It got stuck to something, so I do have a little bit of a tear on the back there, but that's okay. I'm sure I can find another copy at any given time. But this was a real showcase kind of Laserdisc back in the day. Everybody was showing off the bus accident train scene early on in the film, and yeah, still pretty good flick. I haven't seen it in a while. This was one of the first Laserdiscs I ever bought. I bought Alien 3, which I had gotten rid of because I had laser rot, and I have it on DVD and everything now. But also a couple of anime releases from US Manga Corps and Image Entertainment. Golf Force Eternal Story. I have not seen this in ages. I've been dying to actually fire this up again. It's been quite some time since I've seen it. It's not like full feature length. Well, it almost says 87 minutes, so I guess that's feature length. But yeah, I'm going to have to give this a shot. I do believe it is subtitled and not dubbed. I could be wrong, but yeah, maybe it is dubbed. I don't know. I'll have to check it out again. But yeah, Golf Force Eternal Story. Saw this in the theater, and of course it was a no-brainer to pick it up on video. Get Shorty. John Travolta kind of riding high on his newfound success from Pulp Fiction. Definitely benefited by following that up with this film. Kind of stepping into similar kind of fun cinematic gangster territory, and Danny DeVito's great in this thing, Gene Hackman as well, but yeah, based on an Elmore Leonard story, and it's got AC3 Dolby Digital, and any extras on here, audio commentary from Barry Sonnenfeld, and some I think a deleted scene and the original theatrical trailer. Next is one of my favorite cover art releases of all time. This thing is just cool to look at. Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer in The Ghost and the Darkness. And yeah, awesome stuff. I always love the goofy copy. Pray for the Hunters, P-R-E. Like, it's just like when you sit and think about it, it's really not that amazing a combination of wordplay. But yeah, you can just picture a suit going, pray. And there's also Prey. We could combine them. But anyways, just two sides. It is in Dolby Digital and THX certified release. Nice stuff. I'll have to fire this up again. I haven't seen this since probably early 2000s. But yeah, love that cover art. That super red color is amazing. This I picked up. I'll probably have to get the Japanese box, but this is the manga video Pioneer Entertainment CAV gatefold version of Mamoru Oshii's Ghost in the Shell, and very nice release actually. I just watched this not too long ago, and it's got a cool behind the scenes feature. It's bilingual, which is interesting. It's got English on the digital channel, or if you want to flip over to the analog channel, you can check out Japanese. But then it does have captions, so if you put on your captions, you'll get the English captions still, and then you can listen to the Japanese track on there. Something I discovered early on. And it's got a making of Ghost in the Shell feature, but really nice stuff. Cool release, and definitely recommend it if you're a fan of anime in general, or if you've seen any of the Ghost in the Shell series. I'm sure you've probably seen that. All right, this I picked up. It was hard to find a lot of the 90s films of this series over here in the States, but Godzilla vs. Biollante. This is Dimension put this out, HBO video. I remember the soundtrack being very shrill on this release. It's Been a while since I watched it, so I might want to take another listen to it. But I remember just not being able to deal with the soundtrack at all. It is a dubbed version of the film, but one of these days I'll get a better copy. All the Godzilla films are available in better versions nowadays, but still great artwork. I can't really give that one up, so I held on to it. I do also have everybody's favorite, the classic 1998 Godzilla from the creators of Independence Day. Yeah, it came with a flashlight. I actually bought this brand new not that long ago, and it still had the offer for the Godzilla flashlight that you could purchase. Watched it not too long ago, and still looks pretty good. It is a Columbia TriStar film, but I don't have any laser rot on it, and it does have AC3 Dolby Digital, and if you're a fan of cheesy late 90s action movies, give it a spin. This is related to a title that I had on Laserdisc that I got rid of. Maybe I should have held on to it, but I upgraded to the Blu-ray, and I just saw a lot of furor over this title on the Laserdisc Forever page, and people were excoriating it and saying it was a horrid piece of crap. But I was a fan of Gone with the Wind, so I picked up this really cool documentary called The Making of a Legend, Gone with the Wind, which I do believe is available as an extra on most of the modern releases of it, but I actually had to special order this thing from Suncoast and waited forever to get it. It's a 2-disc set. It was a great counterpart to the 2-disc MGM release of Gone with the Wind, because it didn't have many extras, so if you got that and this, you were pretty much taken care of. But yeah, really cool release, and had to hold on to that. Watched this not too long ago. Still classic. Got it from Columbia House, so hence Corner Damage. That $7 shipping, really, you got all your money's worth out of that. Goodfellas. Classic release, just a PCM Matrix Surround. But, love it. Watch it on a regular basis. This, I picked up as on a dump from Ken Crane's. They had a few DTS releases that were wicked cheap, and I hadn't seen this in the theater, but I love the soundtrack. But I got great expectations. Ethan Hawke, Gwyneth Paltrow, Anne Bancroft, and Robert De Niro in this new take on the vintage Charles Dickens Tale. And good enough. I mean, it's not like a film that you would normally say, I need a DTS version of that, so I can hear Anne Bancroft pontificating and whatnot. But that said, it's pretty cool having it in DTS. This isn't the original copy of this I got. People may have forgotten how long of a wait there was for this film. I saw this in the theaters and was a psychotic super fan of this thing. I mean, I fell in love with this film. I was a big fan of Michael Mann films already to begin with. But yeah, I was a super fan of this film, and I was waiting with bated breath for its Laserdisc release. And it came out on VHS, and it did not come out on Laserdisc. I can't even remember what the holdup was. But again, just proving that in the 90s, the Laserdisc wasn't just a port of what was out on VHS. So it was definitely worth the wait. Eventually, this came out. Heat, one of my all-time favorite Michael Mann films. I remember reading the local review of this in the paper, and I got 3 stars out of 5 or something like that. And I remember seeing it in the theaters and going, holy crap, this is a modern masterpiece. People are going to be talking about this film for years. And it's just so funny to just feel that, to know that, and then just to read a review that's like, meh, it's okay. And then you think, how many other classics or really important films or great films that people will want to watch over and over again that were greeted with that same kind of middling apathy, back in the day? Probably quite a few. So I just remember, I had a futuristic vision almost, you are an idiot, sir, for giving this 3 stars, because this movie freaking rules. And I saw it a bunch of times in the theaters, and eventually picked it up on Laserdisc. Great AC3 Dolby Digital soundtrack, and one of my all-time faves. And like an idiot, I got rid of the Laserdisc when I had already purchased it on DVD, but I got this back in a lot recently, so I'm going to hold on to it this time, just because I'm such a fan of the film. This flick I actually saw on PBS, and is not the Tommy Lee Jones film of the same title. It is instead a Haruki Katakawa flick called Heaven and Earth. Really, really cool Japanese kind of political / action film about these 2 warlords just going at it and 16th century Japan. Really, really cool flick. Very visually rich, and just regular PCM surround on this sucker. But yeah, one of my favorites. I had to order this from the little catalog that Suncoast had, and had to wait forever for this to show up, but was worth it. Yeah, this I'd never seen. I got it from my friends a lot, but Kenneth Branagh's take on Henry V, Fox Special Edition, with a little touch of Harry, the making of Henry V. Killer cast. It's got Kenneth Branagh, Paul Scofield, Derek Jacobi, Ian Holm, Emma Thompson, of course. But yeah, definitely looking for firing this up. Vintage Fox widescreen, so I'm not sure how great the transfer is going to be, but I will let you know. This I picked up at Suncoast on a whim. It's a Brett Leonard flick. If you haven't seen Brett Leonard flicks, he was very keen on integrating CGI. Some would say before it was ready, but he did Lawnmower Man. And Hideaway is a Dean Koontz translation adaptation with Jeff Goldblum and Christine Lottie, and of course Alicia Silverstone. And Brett Leonard finds a way to inject lots of CG stuff that may look a little dated if you watch it nowadays. Andrew Kevin Walker again did some of the story work on this thing. So it is kind of a cool flick, and it's always good seeing Jeff Goldblum, but it does start to go off the rails a little bit once the CG nuttiness gets in the film. Good soundtrack too, though. This is another comment. Everybody probably has one version of this. This is the remastered digital surround AC3 version of The Hunt for Red October, with Alec Baldwin playing Jack Ryan and John McTiernan directing. Classic flick. So yeah, if you're going to get a copy, this is a good one to get. And THX certified, so definitely a worthy investment. I still have to get the Patriot Games THX Dolby Digital version. I always find the regular PCM surround one. And that's it for the H's. We'll stop and get into I's next. We'll take a little break and meet me back here for more Laserdiscs. Thanks, everybody.